Okay, so this is part 2 of chapter 1 of Age of Darkness, Rules of Engagement. Some things that included a part 1 that could be nice is the named traitor Roboute Guilliman was reflecting about. His name was Galen. And then the next perspective we follow is actually of Remus Ventanus, who's the captain, not the sergeant. I said sergeant is the captain of the 4th Company. The sergeant's name is Barca, and a nice quote from Sergeant Barca was "Standard slipped." That's how this whole thing started. But which has a character, Remus and Barca seems like he just has opinionated. Those mountains they were fighting in are the Telesar Mountains, and some of the Castra's names were Pluvius, and then the final Castra was Tanagra. Okay, so the chapter progresses to another perspective of Remus in Engagement 136. This starts with a reflection from Remus of what Prandium was before and after the World Eaters and Angron. It was had beautiful nature, and went to a radiated wasteland. And so this engagement 136, Remus is in charge of a larger battle group. He's reflecting on how before he's never been in charge of tens of thousands of warriors. And then this narration, the reflection kind of ends there, and then it goes to a narration of Remus. He's receiving lots of information about his battle group, casualties from which squads. It's described as being like a screen he's looking at, with blue triangles for Ultramarines, red triangles for World Eaters. Blue triangles would be in motion over a map, or maybe the blue triangle or red triangle would disappear when there was a casualty. And so he then he gets in an argument with a captain of another company who's a part of his command squad about his methods and philosophy. Remus is pretty much just following Roboute Guilliman's his book as an ideology. He's not independently thinking. It's just, rather than coming to his own conclusion about what he should do, he's using the book, or having the book basically make the choice for him. And there's an argument between this named captain of some company and him, just in the wording about that topic. And Remus relieves the guy from being a part of his command squad, asks for his lieutenant, and then they kind of have concession and agreement, and they have a concession and agreement, and the guy's just gonna follow the orders given to him. And so then Remus gives out a series of orders that movements for all the squads and companies deployed. And the effect this has is it makes the new positioning of all these units, make it so the World Eaters, in their smaller units at the squad level or whatever's smaller units are either being outnumbered or outflanked or outgunned, outflanked, outnumbered. And this is to the wonderment of Remus's of the other officers in Remus's command squad. Their reporting is very much like it's written like it's happening almost at the moment, where within the time is not clearly written, so in some amount of time they're getting the feedback of this course of action. Casualties have stopped. Most, like 88% of squads are still combat effective. Only like 5 are close to combat ineffective, and only 2, I know that's not right math, but it's like 2% are combat ineffective. And so this was really to Remus's, and just including a bit more about that moment of wonderment for the sub officers. It's not written, so I shouldn't say anything, but I guess as a reader's commentary, it was like this probably helped for Remus and Reboot Gilliman's book. Like how Remus was saying, if it's chronological, that since Engagement 94, Remus has now been promoted, and he has a reputation. His actions, his past actions in this, defense of Ultramar from Engagement 94 to this one, Engagement 136, it just means it means he's thought of well. Anyway, okay. So moving on to this next part of the chapter, which is Engagement 2028, is that through cyber attack, after action analysis, and another method, they've learned that there's probably a senior officer at this Metropolis location. Who is this officer? They don't know. Who is the enemy? It's not described. The only description is of there being a named location. It's a metropolis, and there may have been a bridge mentioned, or some sort of the local industry or a business of this place that is no longer relevant because of it's now a military, it's a military theater. And so that's the first paragraph, is this narration from Remus, assuming about the location and what they're doing. They're all located in a Thunderhawk, and there's some narration about the Thunderhawk really is a poorly made thing in comparison to the Stormbird. That's something about the world lore that's of this time, or at least if you're reading like me from Horus Heresy Book 1 to the end, it's that the Stormhawk is a much better aircraft than the Thunderhawk. Some of the details are the Thunderhawk's the structural ribs. The ribs of it are exposed. There's no walling off of it. Their cabling and the wiring is exposed. Someone can touch it. The bolting and the metal sheeting they think looks flimsy, unsturdy, could come apart. And then so the action is they're gonna, fly with the Thunderhawk to the location of the target. Remus has some word with someone, I don't really remember. And then there's a little for him, he's just narrating about he has 30 warriors from the 4th Company to complete this mission. He wishes he has 50. And then there's he does a little philosophizing about why he wants 50. So the Thunderhawk flies in. There's some description